Oh, I'm going to buy the whole caravan if they bring all the stuff I need. So, goblets are on. Goblets, right there. Number 5. Right there. 154%. Which means they're going to pay a whole lot more for the goblets that we're cranking out next year. That's a big boost. So now let's go down to our Crafts Dwarves workshop here and look here, and we're starting to fill up a lot of bins. And I'll bet if we look at our stocks, we're going to find that our mugs or goblets category here. Find it here, goblets. We have 75 of them already, and we're just going to keep cranking them out. They're not going anywhere. So let's go ahead and ramp up our production. Make sure that all of our Crafts Dwarves workshops are working on mugs if they can. And that'll get us a few more produced before next year. And we'll sell those to the Dwarven Caravan for a bigger profit than we would normally. Well, I don't know that they actually destroyed a wagon, did they? I saw the buzzards, but I don't think they actually got the wagon. I think they got one of the pack animals, but... yeah, there it is. It's all right there. So that's everything they brought with them. Unfortunately, they will blame us for this loss, even though it wasn't us, even though it was those terrible, terrible buzzards, and we know that. It's basically, they're going to screw with us because we lost that stuff. Now, that's the bad news. The good news is, it's the Dwarven Caravan, I think. And they don't object, basically. They will never go to war with you over this kind of problem. So the merchants bailed out because they got attacked, unfortunately. So no trade this year, and the horse is going to die, and we basically treat the whole caravan as a total loss. I hope that wasn't a human caravan. Yeah, we're going to go confiscate that stuff, I think. I need to look and see how many buzzards are attacking that horse to make sure it's just the one. If it is just the one, then we're going to try and deploy the military to that area and finish the horse, or finish it off. So let's deploy our squads to a nearby but not immediately adjacent area. And there's a moment here where we pathfind really heavily. And we apparently got a mayor when I wasn't looking, and he wants us to make shields. So let's go ahead and have our metal workers crank out a shield if they're not already. Good stockpile still making that. Let's make a shield. And our armor will come along here momentarily and make a shield for us. And we also need to crank out some iron weapons, as I recall. Let's double check our stocks real fast. Weapons. We only have the one iron axe and the one iron hammer. I think we made some iron spears, or I thought we did. Maybe in my other fortress, that's why I'm getting confused. Alright, so let's go ahead and do that. Weapons. We want to make iron. And we'll make some iron warriors. The extra sounds are part of Sound Sense, which you install with the starter pack. It basically reads the game's log.
Dibs on the cute female, huh?
It basically reads the game's log and provides sound events based on what goes on. It's nice for being able to keep track of events that you really want to keep track of, like finding new minerals. So now we're going to get a nice big fat migration wave. That's great. We were at 51 dwarves before, and we're up to 60 already. And we're going to need bigger waves than this if we want to stick around. So left lower leg went flying, right lung doesn't care. And then it came down to ground level and the hammer troops got involved. Alright, so now we need to double check to make sure we've got a hospital zone. So I don't know that we actually designated this as a hospital. And of course we didn't because we were in a big hurry that first night. I did a few things in a big rush. That was one of them. Shame on me. Okay, so now we have... Oops, what designated as a hospital zone. Go. That will get our people taken in for medical treatment. And we need to appoint a chief medical dwarf. And we've got one of those. So, good. Oh, our chief medical dwarf is also our mayor. Yay! And vicious squads need to be taken off of duty. and returned to their natural environment if they can walk there. Looks like we're going to need to make some splints and or crutches. Let's get that done. And we're going to want that soap now, which we haven't bothered to do. So let's build a soap maker's workshop. And where's a good spot temporarily? This'll do. Give it its buildings. We'll build a couple of these actually because I want to make sure I get some soap out as fast as possible. And somebody should come along and pick up our need to make a soap making shop. Let's check on our kitchen stocks and see if we've got that tallow. That's odd. It's very odd. Well, maybe we cooked all our fat and tallow in meals and I wasn't looking. That's entirely possible. Cabin pup is butcherable. Don't need as many dogs as I've got, so we'll get rid of a couple of those. Keep the females, I don't need the males. I haven't actually seen the cats reproduce yet, which is interesting. Yeah, you're imagining the Dwarf Fortress Warhammer, I think, more than the real deal. Well, that's interesting. Where the hell did we find a giant mole at? Where would a giant mole even come from? Oh, I suppose it's possible it came out of the caverns. I don't think we sealed them back up. How's that for clever? I'll bet we didn't. I'll bet we dug that staircase down and left it right there, didn't we? Because we still haven't buried that stupid corpse! Jesus, guys, come on. Oh, it's forbidden. That's on me. Don't! And now, having hunted the giant the deadly giant mole, they will take it back to the butcher's workshop and reduce it to its component parts, thereby supplying us with a large quantity of meat. Cancels pickup crap, horrified. Masterpiece iron breastplate. There you go. Well, I've got the...
It's been taken by a Fey mood.
Feymood is good. Feymood is nice.
You there, this workshop's mine now.
Regular crafter, though, that's not so good. But oh well. We'll make do. Probably going to be a bone crafter, I think. It's the first thing we grabbed. Yep, bone crafter. Oh, you noticed that, did you? They wander away from the body, but people collecting all the clothing have no problem? Yeah. So the caverns are actually a lot more dangerous now than they were in 3411, potentially, because you can't wall off chunks of them as easily as you could previously. Before, it was possible to find low sections in the caverns, but with the way the new trees work, Toadies opened up the ceilings quite a bit. You know, you're not guaranteed to have caves that go up this high this frequently. They would carry along at a fixed position, usually, and not so vertically oriented. With the new mushrooms, new ceiling heights. So now we're going to have to think about a way we want to have a gatehouse down here to let our guys in and out. However, having collected everything out there we really care about at the moment, we're now going to seal off that tunnel to make sure nothing else comes in that way. I assume that's what happened. So, yay for Giant Mole and all, but the Giant Mole actually passed out from exhaustion. Let's see. Looks like it didn't do much beyond bruising it. Lots of bruises. Bruising the fat, bruising the skin. Not particularly dangerous. Awesome. The flying iron bolt strikes the giant mole in the third left front toe. Because that's the most important place to hit your giant mole. Right in the third left front toe. So let's see. Our military guy here needs to be sutured, dressed, and put into an immobilization. His grasping is impaired, and he has broken tissue. Looks like everybody else except the turkeys and one sheep is fine. Well, light sources are below the level of resolution, but if it makes you happy to envision dwarves with torches, there is a mod that will come out, presumably if it's updated with DF called Render Max, which basically treats every dwarf as a light source, as though they were carrying a torch, and dims the rest of the world a little bit, in addition to adding a day-night cycle to the surface. So it changes the tint, if you will, of every tile affected every few ticks in order to generate lighting effects for Dwarf Fortress. Now, I remember trying it out, and I thought it was kind of a drain on my frame rate, but, if your computer's really beefy, maybe. If Toady ever implements multi-threading, then yeah, something like that would be awesome. Alright, so let me open the floor up a little bit here. Anything in particular anybody wanted to see? Well, no, it doesn't dim it. No. It doesn't dim it so much that you can't see everything. It just treats it as dim. So, I mean, the game works the same. It's just your player vision. If you like being able to... It's not even a fog of war. It's just... it's like somebody turned it on to mood lighting in the rest of your fort. Our puppy fall is dug out, but not finished. We need to go back and put in the statues and designate it as a room. Drop a puppy. Okay, sure. Hang on. I do want to dig out one more space here. I want to dig out all the way around this thing. The pit straight down is nothing more than channeling designations stacked over one another.
An artifact has been completed.
So, yay, a dogbone mace, which is basically a weapon trap in the making. The reason I'm going to use that as a weapon trap, so let's talk about that for a minute. I'm going to actually build that as a weapon trap right now because it's useful for that. And I'll use a mica mechanism, and I'll throw that in there. And anything else of interest? Crossbows, axes, nothing else is of particular value to throw in here. And then we're done selecting. And the reason is because that weapon trap will be viewed by everyone who comes into the dining room. It will make everyone happy around it, basically. And everybody goes to the dining room. So our puppy got pitted. I wasn't watching because I went down here to make sure I got that built. And down here at the bottom, we have puppy. Puppy itself lands here and is immediately dissected into neck, legs, tail, and corpse, with front leg landing a little further off. So I'm thinking you zone out the room to out to about here, and then puppy fall is 4 or 5 squares away, and we just clean up the remains when we need to. If I had found gold, I would be using gold. If I'd found platinum, I would be using platinum. If I'd found, if I had the materials for steel, I would use steel. But iron is actually fairly valuable at 10. So it's more valuable than all the stone and the wood and the rope that I might use. So we've demonstrated that the puppy fall actually works. I actually mass dumped some stone by mistake along with the corpse, so they'll take a minute to clean it up while they move some of the rock as well. Well, now ideally when you're making a well, you want to use items that have a quality rating as well. But I don't have anything with a quality rating that's going to be better necessarily than what I just used. Blocks don't have a quality gauge. Mechanisms is either stone or metal, and iron is the best metal I've got for that. The chain and bucket would have quality that you could add to them, which would be nice, but I don't really care in this case. I just want to get a well up, make sure they have something to use. Now, you want to be cautious about deploying weapon traps where they will trigger, because they will fire on anything that's in the square when they trigger. So if a dwarf and a goblin are standing in the same tile, for whatever reason, the goblin dodges or whatever, that's dangerous. You run the risk of potentially dissecting something, and the unconscious puppy, assuming it is momentarily unconscious before it is instantly killed, would trigger the trap. So a dwarf standing there would not only get hit with a falling puppy potentially, but then if they passed out because of something, immediately be dissected by your weapon trap. You don't want to do that. For interior fortress defense, if I want to build traps, say in my workshop areas to kind of protect people and hopefully thin down any invaders that get that far, then I'm looking at cage traps by and large. That close into your dwarves, you want to do something that's preventable, if you will. Theoretically, no, that's true, but do you really want to risk a weapon trap? They might survive the puppy. Probably not going to survive the weapon trap if they add to it. Unconscious dwarves don't dodge. And the weapon trap in the dining room is unlikely to be triggered by something else. So basically, it's there to be admired 24/7. Any dwarf that comes through that staircase is going to see that weapon trap. And everybody eats in the dining room. So it's going to hit everybody. If we get a masterwork cage, I will throw a masterwork cage up in the dining room. And I may throw an animal or two in it if it's something that I think is not going to be objectionable to people, like a dog, for example. And throw a dog up in the cage and make everybody walk past the dog all the time. You could use a fortification. I think the fortification will have a problem because I think your parts will land in the fortification square and be inaccessible and start to rot. And then you'll have to tear down the fortifications and get rid of the items, or you'll expose everybody to miasma. So, you know, any unhappiness from puppy fall plus miasma plus, you know, no. You want to have them able to get to the item in question, able to see it, but not close enough that they're going to be under it. I don't believe the actual parts will hurt anyone, but I can't promise that. Now, upstairs, our birds have started hatching. I hear them. So we're starting to get our first clutches of chicks. We need to build a cage immediately to hold all of them, or they're going to just be everywhere. And they're probably going to be everywhere before we get to it, but that's okay. We'll make do. Windows would work. You could use windows. I don't think the windows would be permeable to the items, and that's probably your best bet if you're going to do something with a barrier of some kind. We may investigate that. I'm not ready to trigger the puppy fall yet in any case, so no harm, no foul there. You want to see the demonstration? There's your demonstration. The puppy literally explodes into little tiny pieces. Don't know if it actually showed the... It doesn't show up in the combat logs, unfortunately. That would have been nice. What are our doctors doing? This guy is on break. This guy has no job. What the Whiskey Tango, Batman? We're replacing your ass temporarily. Get on with the medical treatment, doctor. Okay, so he's been bandaged and taken care of now. We're in good shape. Can put him back the way I found him. And we've got our well up now, so it's up. Oh, no, it's needing architecture. We haven't got an architect to build it yet. He's still finishing off those last few chunks of road. Got some unhappy dwarves, too, unfortunately. Probably the guys that had to fight the undead. Blinking red on my entrance stairs. That's probably blood. Badger blood, specifically. Well, probably not recent. no idea how long the badger blood has been standing on my staircase, but I don't think we've had a badger get inside the walls since we had walls. So that's probably before we started digging, there was probably blood there. Okay, so we'll get this cage up and get every turkey who isn't a hen assigned to it. That's turkeys from one clutch of eggs. We will now produce a second clutch. Our dwarves will take a minute to stuff all that turkey flesh into those cages, so it'll take a second here. I can speed this process up since I have so many idlers by setting animal hauling on everyone. And people will come move the animals. I think. Ooh, this guy's really unhappy. Oh, this is the guy that got wailed on. I think I think it's once a season. I mean, you can really crank out the birds. It's just astounding. But even if it's twice a year, even once a year, I went from 10 turkeys to like 100. Turn around and let those turkeys do their thing. Even if it's once a year, you're going to rotate them through. The net result is the first two clutches, you just basically crank them out as turkeys, and then you just go back and just butcher them as they grow up. Because you'll have birds sitting on nest boxes 24/7 producing more turkeys that you can jam into the cage. And you just leave them in the cage. You pull more out of the cage as you start to deplete the ones on the nest boxes through butchering. People have routinely embarked with turkeys or other birds and literally fed their dwarves on meals cooked from nothing but eggs. Now he's going to cancel that road because there's people standing on it, but that's okay.
Sorry, sir, I can't do it.
Oh, and apparently there's an item. What is the item? a crossbow that somebody dropped. Let's get some cleanup done. See, he's starting to come back up. 16 to 17 is a positive improvement. So as long as nothing else happens, he's going to start to recover his mood. But that's a sign that we need to improve our dining room. This guy here is not particularly happy either. He's right behind him. Same problem. They get this has been haunted or attacked by the dead thing if they fight off undead. It's a negative thought that's in addition to being attacked by, injured, for example. Looking through here, it looks like we're starting to get a little lower on rocks, and we're starting to get down in these floors down here where these offshoot channels are pretty much all we've got left rocks-wise. Central shaft has been pretty well mined out. All the rocks have been dragged off and carved into something. Well, if you really want to force them to do it, because it doesn't guarantee that they will, you could forbid all of the bronze equipment in the fortress and watch them drop it immediately and run off and grab iron to replace it. And then unforbid the bronze, and anybody who didn't have iron would equip it. If you have it set to steel, they will automatically replace it with steel if steel is available, but otherwise they will just kind of take what's available. They don't necessarily upgrade it. That can mean copper breastplates, for example. But my suggestion for getting him to equip a particular thing would just be, yeah, forbid what you don't want him using until they pick up the other stuff and then go back the other way. I don't know that they will necessarily upgrade unless you make them. You can go into your military equipment and I think you can look at what they are using. So you can go into this guy and view custom, and we're looking at what he's got, and it says steel, but that's partial matches. So if I want exact matches, I can see exactly what they're equipping with. He'll discard basically anything that doesn't match exactly. So you don't necessarily have to forbid it. You could turn on exact matching temporarily, and they would drop everything that wasn't steel, and then see what they re-equipped. That might work. They might take the iron over the bronze then. It's more valuable, so generally speaking, they should prefer it. But I see, for example, all of our, we need to add these last few hunters. They weren't assigned an equipment, so we need to make sure to get them into the squad. I thought I added another one. This is one of those spots where DF hack would come in really handy because it would allow me to instantly search for a particular profession, let's say, in this list and find it. So I could search for just the hunters, and then that's all that would appear, and I could immediately find the ones I was looking for. That way I don't miss any. Missing for a week? Where would he go missing at? Did I build a bedroom and forget about it and somebody got vamped on here? No, that's not it. Huh. Where did we lose a miner? Or a melee dwarf at? I don't... Oh, well, there's a combat report here. Hang on. Oh, there you go. Buzzard Corpse got him. He's over here by the... He went north for whatever reason instead of over to where I told him to go, and... Looks like a Kia corpse ended up over here, too. And I think the undead thing that killed something got ripped to bits as well. Let's see undead buzzard around. But we'll probably have to deploy crossbow troops to make sure, and that's a problem because I don't want to activate them again. They're kind of torqued off as it is. So, what do we do? Now we check on our wood stockpile and see that we're starting to run low. So we'll temporarily throw on wood hauling for the entire fortress, because let's haul the whole thing. Anybody who's idle will now go haul all those logs that we've got floating around on the surface. At least in theory. Wondering if Therapist has desynced in some fashion. Well, our frame rate just took big dives, so that's probably everybody starting to go pick up the wood jobs, I hope. Otherwise, I don't understand why we're showing 20 idlers. Everybody in the fortress should have wood hauling at this point.
No.
There may be another way to force them to upgrade, I'm not sure. Like I said, you could try exact matches, that might work. Becoming hammer dwarves will relieve the tension on the military for having been on duty. And since we lost a smasher somewhere along the line, we need to replace him. And as it happens, we don't have a suitable candidate. But this guy has another military skill, so he'll work. Basically, although we're not using the military skill he's got, you can see here that Mace Dwarf is his skill. Because he has a military skill, even though it's not the weapon he's going to be training with, he will be treated as a veteran, basically, for purposes of his getting torqued off by being on duty. And we don't have any other suitable candidates, so you're going to become a new hunter as well. And then we need to make sure that each and every one of you is in the squad. You're in the squad. Now that is an announcement I care about. Where the hell is that? And it looks like somebody managed to down it. That's good. The hell are these guys going to collect? Tell me that's a hunter. What the hell's he doing out there? Went for a walk in the woods just because? But our well's done, and this top turkey and this bottom turkey here are the ones that probably got shot by the goblins when they showed up before they fled from the cat. Hang on a minute, you've been typing here a second and I've missed it here. As far as I know, better armor is only effective for increasing armor skill in the sense that they survive better when they're wearing better armor to better build their skill. And in order to kind of smooth things over with the dwarves, since we haven't done a whole lot of the things we need to get them happy right now, I'm going to let them organize a party or two. And this does mean labor in the fortress slows a bit, and dwarves kind of socialize a little more, but that should help relieve some of the tensions with the folks who are kind of unhappy. I have no idea why the hell that dumbass got all the way out there in the first place, and now he's out there, he gets trapped by a damn buzzard corpse, keeps fleeing from it. And he flees back into a corner, so he keeps taking the same path back in again. And I'll bet that's what's happening. He just keeps getting distracted by the same piece of undead he keeps trying to walk by. Keeps fleeing in the same direction. Oh, there it dropped to ground level. That's perfect.
Where's an unhappy dwarf throwing a tantrum?
No, my training hasn't had gaps. I've been trying to get them to level 1 as quickly as possible. At that point, they stopped worrying so much about being on duty. It's not to say they won't worry about it, but it's not as bad. Basically, they don't stop. They don't worry about as much when they're activated for military duty once they have one level skill. So my goal has been to get them to at least novice level with their weapon, because once you do that, then they don't care when you activate them for military duty. Before that, they do. So these 5 guys here will tend to be less unhappy about being activated for military duty than these 5 guys here. So what we'll do is we'll start by giving the military bedrooms of their own, with the nicest beds we can find. We don't care what they're made out of, we just do care that they are masterwork. So we're going to build beds that are masterwork specifically for all our military dwarves. And we'll start building the coffers and cabinets that we had built previously. We've been accumulating them, or should have been accumulating them, and we have not used any of them. It varies. Sometimes I'll stream in quick bursts. I've done it 3 times this week. But then I may go 2, 3 weeks without streaming at all. So we're starting to get the furniture moved into the military bedrooms. Once we've got the beds installed, I'll give them all nice bedrooms, and then that should help cheer them up. Now, the reason for the additional furniture is dwarves will store their crap, the stuff that they need to get rid of or that they don't use right away, in chests and cabinets. In addition, they are happy if they get to they're happier if they get to admire a building that they own, not just a random building. So a nice bed counts more. A nice bed counts more than a dormitory bed because they own it. Yeah, it's getting late, and I'm not going to be doing this too much longer. But it's been a good run tonight. The hell is he doing out there? Dude's been on walkabout for a while, I'd say. He must have sealed himself out. Or we must have sealed him out when we did the... He was carrying goods in the damn cavern. What the... Well, either they'll save him or they won't.
Sir, you can't do that there.
And it looks like he might conceivably make it back to the fortress and survive. Isolation and starvation, his only friends. Which he'll probably go into vermin hunting mode about the time he gets back to the fortress just to laugh at us all. I just can't figure out what the hell he would have been doing out there. I mean, he would have literally had to have run all over this place to find all this stuff. Wild. I can't figure out what the hell he would have been carrying this out here. Weird. Yeah, I think I need to grab some dinner. It's getting late here. It's already midnight. Okay, guys, before I go, has anybody got any questions for me? Alright, not seeing a whole lot of questions out there, so I'm going to call it a night. I'll post my advertisement for the next stream out there in the subreddit, Dwarf Fortress subreddit, just like I did tonight. And I'll post up the stuff on YouTube sometime tomorrow. There you go, just for you. Alright guys, I'm going to save it for this evening. Alright guys, have a good night.